Welcome aboard, folks. I'm Stephen Malkowicz, your captain on this adventure called Ship of Fools. It's a fabulous mess, and you're invited. Okay, Carson Binda, welcome
Stephen,
back.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Welcome on the ship again.
Welcome aboard. Ahoy.
Ahoy, matey. So, Carson, always interesting to have you on and or back on the podcast. I imagine there's a few, we've been going back and forth over the last month or so, and I figured it was time to bring Carson Binda back on because we haven't touched on a lot of subjects recently. There's certainly been a shit ton of things that we can talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
No shortage. There's never any shortage of stupidity. And you don't even have to dig for it. You just have to read an article and go, okay. And I happen to live out in White Rock, South Surrey. And one of the things that I'll start with is when you make an announcement that you're getting rid of the chief of police and you come out right out of the gate and go, it's without cause.
Yeah.
That is the public statement we're making, without cause. Well, you know what? I'm just saying, I've been in the business I've been in for almost 40 years, and I've dealt with unions in this province forever. And the words without cause have never crossed my lips, ever.
No, this was bonkers. And Stephen, this Surrey police transition has been a boondoggle for taxpayers since day one. And look, right off the bat, I don't care who polices the streets of Surrey. Mm-hmm. I think there's great RCMP officers. Mm-hmm. I think there's great Surrey Police Service officers. What I do care about is that there's transparency, accountability with decisions around policing, and that taxpayers aren't left with huge bills and big question marks. Unfortunately, with this police transition, and now the chief of police being fired, we have no accountability, and we are being left with those giant bills for this transition. This is one of those ones that's just a head scratcher. It seems like it has been horrifically mismanaged from both the city of Surrey and the provincial government from day one.
So who, I still don't know the story. I still, this is quite a while ago. I had the PR guy, one of the PR guys from the Surrey Police Service, and he was talking around it. And I get it that he's got to watch what he says. Okay. But after we finished, and I'm not suggesting that Tig said anything bad. Like, it was just like, he was more than honest about a lot of things that are happening. And I get it that, at the end of the day, when shit goes down, the cops are there. But I'd also like to know just a general question that I ask, and I ask this on a regular basis. When is this transition done?
Yeah.
Well, you never get a straight answer.
It's the question that nobody seems to answer. And why? Why is transitioning from the RCMP to a local police service one of these things that just seems to go on forever? There's no reason for it. We have countless examples of municipal governments across Canada creating their own municipal police forces. It happens all the time.
So why is this one taking forever?
And I think that the honest answer is poor decision-making and a politicization of this process from both the previous, the current mayor of Surrey, the previous mayor of Surrey, and the provincial government.
See, this is my take on it. Yeah. Is that the mayor of Surrey, Brenda Locke, the current mayor, who I make no bones about. I just, it's time for a change, man. Like, come on. And I'll make this. I support Troy Van Vliet for mayor. I have no problem saying that.
Yep.
I have no problem saying that. Because we need some change. But as long as she's in the driver's seat, this transition it will just drag on forever. So if she gets reelected, you're going to see another 4 or 5 years, like whatever the term is, 4 years. You're going to see the RCMP will be sticking around because she was the one that had the plebiscite or to whether or not we were going to keep the RCMP, which is just a complete horse shit. Like, you know what? The reason you're elected is to make decisions. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody said. Once the decision's made, you can hate the RCMP, love it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just have one police force. Okay.
And stop going back and forth, having all these duplications and burning taxpayer money in the process.
Just stupidity, and it never ends. So that's the first one. But what's there's no shortage here, but the secondary, like we're in the middle of a job action with the nurses, and I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to what happened, and then when I started to pay attention, and I correct me if I'm wrong here, did the provincial government come out and say that whatever the nurses negotiate, the rest of the unionized employees for the province of British Columbia are going to get that? Did they say that?
Yeah. So this is a thing that exists with BC government labor contracts. If one union gets a certain percent pay raise, all the other unions are entitled to that same percentage pay raise. So what happened here is the nurses were offered the same 12% over 4-year pay raise that everyone else in the public sector, whether that's teachers or bureaucrats, received. Mm-hmm. The nurses said, no, we want more than that 12% over 4 years. What that means, if government caves on that specific
even if they
request,
go to 15%.
Even if they go to 15%.
13.
The teachers,
everybody
the
gets that 1% more.
Exactly. That's a huge problem when you start diving into the state of our provincial finances. Because there isn't that money to go around.
So is anybody talking about this aside from you guys?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
There's been conversations about this in the media, back and forth a little bit. But it puts both the province and the nurses in a really tough position.
It does.
Because the province can't budge on that 12% number without blowing a huge hole in our provincial finances. Because remember, more than half the money the province already spends goes towards wages, salaries, and benefits for the government sector. Mm-hmm. So there isn't more money to spend on these contracts with the teachers, with the bureaucrats, with everyone else. But that's only part of this labor dispute with the nurses. The other things that we've heard time and time again from them through these negotiations are around their working conditions. Look, we've all heard horror stories of nurses being exposed to fentanyl smoke over the course of their duties, dealing with violent repeat offenders who are arrested, let out, sent to a hospital, where they're violent to the staff there. And we know our healthcare system is crumbling. I checked the other day emergency room wait times before an interview to use as a data point. It was more than 10 hours when I checked at my local nearest emergency room. So on one hand, we've got nurses whose working conditions keep deteriorating, asking for more money that the province doesn't have. Mm-hmm. And that's creating this really tough union negotiation right now with those nurses.
Well, it's, and I'm not, I was this once again, I was going down, my doctor is right on the water in White Rock, right on the waterfront. And you take a road called State Road and it's direct and it comes out right in front of Semiahmoo First Nation. I was going down that road at 1:30 in the afternoon and there were two, and this has become common now. Two people looked like they were dead.
Yeah.
And lying on, and I'd stopped, but somebody had stopped and was phoning already. And that's in front of, you can't even say you can't be NIMBY about it, but those houses are $4, $5, $6 million houses.
Yeah.
And you've got, we've got a problem.
Well, and beyond that being a policy failure, that is a human tragedy.
It is.
It is tragic.
It's horrible.
It is tragic that there are British Columbians lying in the streets, dealing with their addictions, dealing with overdoses, and a provincial government that just seems to be wringing its hands, saying there's absolutely nothing that can be done about it.
It goes to the state of what we're involved in here. And I don't know how and I don't know if people are becoming more nihilistic the way they look at things, which means, why bother helping? Why bother doing anything, or why care? But every once in a while when I look over and I see somebody stopped by the side of the road and going, okay, man, I got to see are these guys okay? Because I was prepared to stop going the other way. And when I said, okay,
be a good
exactly,
citizen.
be a good person.
Yeah.
You know, and the more and more this deteriorates, the more and more people will just go, well, what's the point?
Yeah, they become desensitized.
That's right.
To that suffering.
What's the point to even help? Because it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
And you know, you go, that's a tragedy. That is a tragedy that is occurring. And I don't know, you know, we have ample money to spend on a SkyTrain expansion. We have ample money for the city and the province to whatever the hell, like we start talking about FIFA a little bit, and we can get into that, but we have ample money to spend on things like that. But we can't deal with the situation that is in this province, in the lower mainland, issues which are, they're extremely important.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and you don't know about the healthcare system, and I can speak personally about this, until nobody gives a shit about it until you actually need it. Okay. And you want to know that it's there for you. And for the most part, I can tell you, my experience has been that it is there, when you're really, really sick. When you're kind of not really sick, but really sick, if you don't have someone that advocates like hell for you,
yeah, good luck.
you could die in the hallway, kind of thing. And that's horrible. And I know none of those people that work there want that shit to happen, but it happens, and we just don't, we stand for it.
Yeah.
But that and I don't think that we can, until you're in it, you don't realize that. And then and I'm of the age where I've had to use the healthcare system a couple of times, because of issues. And I have, and you know what, I could say I'm privileged because, like, I'm a white guy, who, relatively successful, I think.
Yeah, you have a good life.
I got a decent life.
Yeah.
Somebody who cares for me, that kind of thing. But there are a lot of people that don't.
Yeah.
And I look at this, and it is a shame to see somebody, a human life like that tragedy, and with so much affluence around, but at the same time with waste. Yeah. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. And I've seen examples of things working, but they don't tend to be emulated or looked at. It's more or less like, we began talking about, we'll sort of segue into FIFA, because I want to talk about that, because the World Cup is on everybody's mind, and it's just finished here in Vancouver, and bully for that, great, that's great. But what is that like? You must have some preliminary numbers or some knowledge regarding FIFA. What that it's come and gone.
Yeah,
we spent how much does it cost to pull artificial turf out and put grass in, and then pull the grass out again? Are they pulling the grass out?
They are. As far as I know, the grass has already been pulled out.
Holy shit.
They move quick when they want to. Yeah.
Wow.
So let's touch on a few things, because I think we hit a few really, really important things there. Stephen, you're absolutely right. Every dollar that's wasted on cost overruns, on perks and benefits for politicians and bureaucrats, is money that isn't going towards helping the frontline workers. It's money that's not going towards supporting that man lying on the highway there. Every dollar that's wasted is money that's not going towards those core services, supporting British Columbians who need it. Now onto the FIFA question, because that is a perfect example of the wasteful spending that British Columbians are being forced to deal with because of the decisions of this provincial government. When it was first pitched to us, hosting just a handful of these FIFA World Cup soccer games, the politicians told us it would cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $230 to $240 million. Well, joke's on us, the bill that we were stuck with is at least $739 million. It could balloon to $1 billion, according to some of the estimates I've seen from sports economists, when everything is finally said and done. But taxpayers are being left with huge bills to host just a fraction of the overall World Cup. I think Vancouver hosted 7 games out of over 100, roughly 7% of the overall tournament. And for what? I mean, when you look at the numbers from this tournament, I don't think there was good bang for taxpayer buck there. We've heard from the hotels that there was a decrease in overall bookings this summer when we held FIFA compared to last summer when we didn't. Fewer people came and spent their time overnight in Vancouver this year compared to last year. FIFA didn't draw millions of people in. It crowded out folks who would otherwise be coming to Vancouver. Think about things like BC Lions games or Vancouver Whitecaps games.
Didn't the Lions, weren't they pegged to Kelowna?
Exactly.
Pegged to go to Kelowna?
Yeah, they moved to Kelowna for their season.
I didn't even see it. I just found that out, I'm going to say a couple of weeks ago. I didn't know that.
Right, but what that means is everyone who would usually be coming downtown to watch those Lions games didn't come to Vancouver this year. We had things like the Dragon Boat Festival, which draws hundreds of thousands of people downtown every year. That was canceled for FIFA. So we had these big marquee events, these other sporting events and cultural events that were canceled to make way for FIFA. And what we've seen as a result is that overall visitors overnight decreased in Vancouver this year. And I also just have an anecdotal story that really puts a line on this. I showed up a few minutes early for this interview. I grabbed a coffee at a local coffee spot just around the corner. And there was a regular customer there chatting with the barista behind the desk. And he said, "Hey, man, how's business been? With FIFA in town, have you guys been super duper busy?" And the barista, he shook his head and he said, "No, it's the opposite, actually. We've been really, really quiet. Everyone's hanging out downtown. None of the regulars are around. It's been really slow for us." And I think increasingly that's going to be what we're hearing from the business community, especially the folks who aren't in that downtown Granville entertainment hub that did have people funneled in. Basically, fewer people elsewhere. And that's a problem for our economy, especially when government promised us these sky-high expectations for it.
Another, like, I listen, I'm a sporting guy. Like, I like sports, but the thing is that I'm not a soccer fan anyway. I don't even to me, it's like we were talking before. It's a lot of fakery and
there's some drama. There's some drama on the field. Yeah.
On the field, and it's very, whenever I see that, I look, and then now with the ultra slow motion and all the shit that you can see, you just go, Jesus, guys, come on! Did somebody
really touch you?
Did touch you? Did you get shot?
Yeah,
and it's absolutely. It's crazy, and maybe it's because we're Canadian and we're used to watching a hockey game or something like that. You get hit, you're hurt.
Yeah,
you're hurt.
Yeah, some guys spit out their teeth during NHL games.
Yeah, but the thing is that soccer, like I call it soccer, football, who cares? But if Canada would have, we would have done a little bit better, but I probably would be changing, or I don't know. Well, I really don't know.
But here's one of the really frustrating things from Vancouver's perspective as a host city. Canada made it fairly far in the tournament, all the way to the round of 16, which is quite good for any country, let alone a country like Canada that doesn't have that long sort of soccer tradition. That round of 16 game wasn't played in Canada. That's right. Their last
Houston.
2 games
it was Houston.
weren't played in
Houston.
Canada.
So
Canada fans who were really hoping to see Team Canada play elimination games on Canadian soil, well, they were out of luck. They were given a big, boo-hoo from FIFA.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that's despite
right.
us spending $729 million hosting
Toronto or
the gosh darn
Vancouver
thing.
could have got the goddamn game.
Yeah, you'd hope so. But just another example of how taxpayers got the
Maybe if our
stick.
prime minister would have phoned the head of FIFA like Trump did.
Yeah.
And just asked, right?
Pretty please.
Just asked.
Who knows?
That's right. Everybody was shitting all over Trump for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't. No harm in asking.
Well, look,
now FIFA went, okay.
So this is a tough one, and I am a bit of a soccer nerd.
Okay.
I'm a big Vancouver Whitecaps fan. FIFA set the precedent earlier on in this tournament where Messi made the exact same foul and FIFA said, no, this is all good. We're A-okay. So then when an American player gets a red card for doing the exact same thing that Messi had done the day before, I think FIFA needs to be consistent. If they're giving a red card for one player doing one thing, they need to be consistent with that punishment across the board.
I don't think I did my research on that organization. I don't think they know what honesty is.
Stephen, FIFA's ethics record looks like Satan's to-do list. They have had dozens of executives indicted for corruption.
That's a badge of honor.
It is.
Have you been indicted?
Yeah, I think
you have a criminal record?
I think it's like
financial
the secret
crimes
handshake
That's
around
right.
the FIFA
You're in.
FIFA table.
Yeah. It's just like what a colossal cluster. Like they're I'm it baffles me. But this organization runs soccer for the world.
The world. Yeah. Well, and look at the previous World Cup host cities, right? You've got Qatar,
yeah.
You've got Russia, you've got Brazil, real bastions of human rights, accountable government, and well-run democracies.
Yeah, so just reward that. Like that's all right. We're trying to expand the game, the beautiful game, and we'll see what happens. But the thing is that I kind of like we're a sporting nation, but we're not a football soccer nation, that type of nation. Like we're not, and I don't know if we'll ever be. The one thing I'll say about soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, is it's accessible, right?
It is.
All you need is a bunch of plastic bags wrapped up, and you can go play soccer. And you just need you can play it in a back lane or wherever the heck you want to. And that's one of my pet peeves about, I'll get into talk about FIFA and I look, there's no legacy left here after that soccer at all.
Well,
at least with the Olympics, there was rinks and shit like that.
Well, and look at the infrastructure they did build for this tournament. It's stuff that your average British Columbian is never going to get to experience. We wasted money on things like new VIP suites at BC Place. They were for a while talking about a new VIP entrance to the stadium. They renovated all the locker rooms with ultra luxury for the athletes. So the infrastructure, the legacy left behind are things that your average British Columbian will never dream of accessing. I don't know how much one of these VIP suites at BC Place goes for, but I'm guessing it's out of touch for most British Columbian families.
Mm-hmm. So let's hammer on our provincial government here. Back to the clown show, and there's rather than, I guess. You can look at the provincial government and the things that, because we're in the summer months now.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked you before, is it been kind of quiet? But they continue to do stupid things.
They do.
There's
been this drip of announcements from the government over the summer.
So let's touch on a couple of the areas of extreme stupidity, and narrow it down here.
So I think there's been two really big areas of stupidity for this BC NDP government this summer. One of them is this condo developer bailout that was announced at a press conference with Mark Carney and David Eby. What they're proposing to do is use taxpayer money to, and this is using Mark Carney's words, buy condos from developers who, quote, don't want to sell at a loss, and then creating some kind of rent-to-own or rental scheme for British Columbians to give them access to these apartments. This is a terrible policy. It is a terrible policy for a few reasons. The first and foremost is it is the reverse of Robin Hood, using taxpayer money to bail out condo developers who don't want to sell at a loss is taking money from the poorest British Columbians, single mom sales tax, turning around and giving that to big developers. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The other really big issue with this is it distorts the free market.
Yeah.
When developers aren't going to sit on these condos forever, eventually they are going to be forced to sell them.
That's right.
And sell them at a price that British Columbians are willing to buy them for.
That's right.
government stepping in with this big well, it's at least $1 billion towards this condo buyout. This big $1 billion bailout artificially raises the floor on those condo prices. It prevents young British Columbian families like mine from being able to enter that housing market.
Has that process begun?
It hasn't. And we have heard almost no details from either the province or the federal government other than the dollar figure that cost. And look, the housing minister, British Columbia's housing minister, was asked on CBC radio, who's going to benefit from this? Is it British Columbian families or developers? And she said, well, we haven't worked out those details yet. So you had government go off half-cocked announcing this big corporate welfare bailout for condo developers. The Carney government was quick to say, oh, no, we're just cutting a check for 1/10 of the cost. This is David Eby's idea. Blame the province.
So we're going to attempt to selectively socialize housing.
That's right.
That's what and that's been proven not to work. But regardless, we'll continue on that path of just stupidity.
Well, and can we just talk about the irony of an NDP government hiking taxes on families, which is what they did in this budget, about $450 more for your average family this year, to turn around and give that money out to condo developers. This is absurd.
It is. There's nothing to. The thing is that I see what sort of perplexes me is that I see some development happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see some development and things that weren't being done and now they're being done.
Yeah.
And I wonder what is it because the developer's so far into it that they have to go ahead and do it at a loss, or because it's something that I don't know a lot about. One of the things I did learn somewhat because once again I'll the municipal election's coming up and we'll talk about that a little bit, but the candidate who I am for, Troy Van Vliet in Surrey, he built a Catholic school out there,
right,
with no public money.
Yeah.
Okay, it was no public money, and he was explaining to me one day how much they have to pay when he develops, how much they have to pay the government.
Those development costs.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
It's just, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, government adds hundreds of thousands of dollars in costs to new builds. And if government really was really serious about getting families into affordable homes, they'd be cutting those taxes. And credit where it's due. They've been doing that a little bit. Part of this same announcement with Carney and Eby was some relief for those development cost charges. But it's a drop in the bucket. I think according to the Canada Housing and Mortgage Corporation, there's 9 separate taxes and government fees that you pay to develop a house in Vancouver. 9 different taxes and fees. If you want to make housing more affordable, cut some of those taxes and fees. That is the surefire way to get shovels in the ground cheaper.
Yeah. So, anyway, we've talked about the developer issue. We've talked about the healthcare pressures. What else? Well, we can touch. There's a few other things, but what else should we be watching?
That other big announcement that I teased earlier has to do with the Massey Tunnel.
Okay, I forgot about that one. That's one of my beauties.
The Massey Tunnel is a phrase that should be sending shudders down the spine of anyone who's listening to this in the Lower Mainland. Everyone has a horror story of being stuck in that traffic. Initially, replacing it was supposed to cost taxpayers $4.15 billion. Well, last week, we heard that the new price tag for this Massey Tunnel replacement, $8.5 billion. That's more than double the cost to replace this aging, leaky piece of infrastructure. And look, folks deserve better than that. We can't be stuck with terrible traffic south of the Fraser and massive cost overruns to fix the problem.
So you have to forgive me for asking this question. Yeah. Are they going to build a bridge?
They're not building a bridge.
See, I didn't know that.
So initially the plan was to build a bridge, replace the tunnel with a bridge. This was a Christy Clark plan, and John Horgan didn't like Christy Clark plans. So then Premier John Horgan put the kibosh on the plan to build a bridge. Now they're replacing the tunnel with a new tunnel.
Seems to me and I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, nor am I.
Yeah, but it would seem to me that it would be easier to build something over water than it would be under the water.
Yeah, and
we're going to expand it.
Well, here's the thing. They already did the groundwork.
Why wouldn't you just...
Why wouldn't you just stick with that plan that you had costed, that you had planned out, instead of going all the way back to the drawing board and somehow doubling the cost in the process? That's not good financial management. That's like financial la-la land.
Do you wonder, and this is something that I wonder too, is having gone back and forth through that tunnel on numerous occasions and seen, gone through, I usually go when the counterflow lane is open and there's a single lane coming either north or south, and you look at the traffic backed up. That's real good for the environment.
Yeah, all those cars sitting
and
there
the trucks,
idling.
the tractor trailers and the dump trucks.
It's
it's lovely. Like
horrible.
It's like you go, Jesus.
Well, and how much time do families waste on their commutes?
It's insane.
Just sitting there idling. That's time you should be at home with the kids, making dinner, living your life.
It's baffling.
Yeah.
It baffles me every single day when I see that. We just take it.
Yeah. Well,
we just take it. We go, oh, okay.
And it would be frustrating if this was a one-off. It would be frustrating if this was the only mega project where we'd seen the budget double and years of delays. Unfortunately, it's not. That's become the norm with this NDP government, with any infrastructure project they try to get done. Think of the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain extension. Double the initial budget, years behind schedule.
When is that supposed to be done?
2030 in theory.
What about the one? This is the other one that really blew me away. Is I hadn't been down on Broadway.
Oh man!
Like if you're a business, you're done.
Well, and this is something we've heard from the small business community.
You're done.
The road closures.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah, they're dead.
So if you want, I guess you want them all to go broke so that you can build there. I don't.
And this is personal for me because my favorite Vietnamese restaurant in the world was on that stretch of Broadway, and I say was because they've shuttered their doors and closed down.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case with a lot of businesses in that Broadway corridor.
There's no way that when is that supposed to be done?
That's a good question. I don't know that one off the top of my head, but hopefully it's done soon.
It never fails to. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
Because there seems to be, well, let's just start this and let's just throw a dart at a dartboard and throw out a number and say that this is what it's going to cost. And we know it's not. It's a lie.
It's a lie. And look, the minister responsible, Mike Farnworth, he talked a big game about, inflation. It's inflation's fault. Inflation's been like 2 to 3% a year. If this was, 2, 3, 4, even 5 or 6% over budget, fine, blame inflation. It's not.
It's doubled.
It is doubled. That's not a little bit over budget.
Bit.
That's massively over budget.
That's not a little bit. And yeah.
And this is coming at a time when the provincial government has unmoney, right? We're adding $30 billion to the provincial debt this year. Oh, and by the way, the NDP has already doubled the per-person provincial debt in the past 5 years alone. In 2021, every British Columbian owed about $16,000 towards the provincial debt. Now, every British Columbian owes $32,000 towards the provincial debt. So when we hear about these cost overruns, what happens is government just adds more charges to the taxpayer credit card. They increase that debt. And just like with your family credit card or your personal line of credit, every dollar that government borrows today needs to be paid back tomorrow with interest. And those interest charges are already the third biggest line item in the provincial budget, more than $6 billion this year, evaporating on those debt interest charges. So we can't afford for government infrastructure projects to go billions of dollars over budget because we just don't have the money.
Isn't there some kind of watchdog in the government or something like that kind of goes, hey guys, like what what are you doing?
So not within government itself, but what there is, or what there are the credit rating agencies.
Yeah.
So just like you've got
Yeah.
a personal credit score, so do provinces and governments. And British Columbia has been hit with credit rating downgrade after credit rating downgrade. And the agencies aren't mincing their words about why. S&P Global, one of those big credit rating agencies, said that British Columbia has the worst budgetary performance of its peers, not just in Canada, but internationally too. They explicitly point to things like high debt and no plan to pay it back as the reasons why they keep hitting us with downgrades. In fact, the only reason they haven't downgraded us further, and they say this in their reports, is that they think the federal government would bail BC out before we go bankrupt.
Nice.
That's the only reason we haven't been downgraded further.
Nice.
So our provincial finances have gone from the best in Canada to a blazing dumpster fire over the course of about 5-6 years.
Let's okay. Let's there's the Surrey watch, I call it.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the Surrey watch. Because it never ceases to amaze me. Okay, we talked a little bit at the beginning about the police chief's termination, without cause. Yeah. And the transition from the Surrey Police Service to the RCMP, which that's kind of like thing that just never ends.
Mm-hmm.
There's no concrete number or date or time when it's going to officially happen. And I can't help but think that there's malfeasance there. I have no proof, but I can tell you that there's a lot of stupid shit going on there.
There's certainly mismanagement.
Yeah. But the recently in the news, there's Surrey has been in the news with regards to land purchases and profiteering
to make space for this big taxpayer funded stadium.
Yeah. I just I read it and then I see a press release from the city of Surrey and I go, do you guys even vet this stuff? Because it makes you look worse.
Yeah.
And it looks like a 12-year-old wrote it and you're not even denying it. You're just saying that. And so you have, and we have a municipal election coming up in October. I get it. There's political points to be gained, but there's been some questionable land deals that have come to light.
Well, this is all in the backdrop of the city of Surrey trying to use taxpayer money, hundreds of millions of dollars, to build a big stadium for the Vancouver Giants in Surrey. Look, I think Surrey's an awesome place. I think the good people of Surrey deserve good sports teams and good infrastructure. But if the Vancouver Giants want a new stadium, I think the Vancouver Giants should be paying to build themselves a new stadium. If the business community thinks that there is this sterling case for a new stadium and entertainment district,
an entertainment
they should be lining up around the block.
I don't
to pay
disagree.
For it. Stephen, I filed a Freedom of Information request to the city of Surrey to get the business case, to get the financials, to get the picture of what's going on here. They handed me back a document that was so full of redactions, big black boxes, that it was unusable.
Really?
They hid the business case. They hid the financial estimates. They hid the possible cost revenue projections. So if the city of Surrey really thinks there's a good deal for taxpayers here, the bare minimum it should be doing is be transparent and release those documents. Show us the business case.
I've seen over the last, I'm going to say it's been over the last month, numerous, and you when you look and you see a piece of property that was listed at one time for $5 million, then, and I'm pulling these numbers roughly out of my head, but was listed for $5 million, turned around and sold for $3.5 million, and then it was sold for $8 million. You go,
there's some big question marks.
Yeah, there's kind of looking at that and going, okay. Is there a semblance of truth to this?
Yeah. Can I talk about one more Surrey story? Because this is one of the ones that came out recently that just made my blood boil. And I'm sorry, I'm going off script here.
Go ahead.
The Surrey School District CEO is one of the highest paid bureaucrats in the province. He took $527,000 in total compensation last year. Now, this is coming at a time when Surrey laid off 50 teaching assistants, saying there isn't the money to keep them around. They're putting kids in portables because there's not the money to build them proper classrooms.
And
you're paying your CEO $527,000. That's about $200,000 more than Mark Carney makes Why are you paid $200,000 more to manage Surrey schools than Mark Carney is to manage the entire country?
Why was he paid that amount?
It's a good question, Stephen. He also took a huge pay raise this year compared to last year. Call me crazy, but I don't think school district executives should be taking big raises while they're laying off teaching assistants, saying there's not money to keep them around. It's a slap in the face to all the Surrey taxpayers who are paying into that school system.
Does anybody care?
Well, we'll see come municipal election time.
What about the what's happening with the waste treatment plant over in North Van?
Oh, don't get me started on this. Yeah, so the North Shore wastewater treatment plant is billions of dollars over budget, years behind schedule, adding hundreds of dollars to families' property tax bills, specifically on the North Shore, but also across the rest of the region too. Largely because government mismanaged this project to oblivion. It is another example of a big infrastructure mega project going billions of dollars over budget and leaving taxpayers with huge unaffordable bills. And we have not seen a shred of accountability from the province or from the regional district, Metro Vancouver, when it comes to this North Shore wastewater treatment plant. In fact, the BC NDP has made it harder for us to get answers. BC municipalities and regional districts used to have a dedicated watchdog. It was called the Auditor General for Local Governments. The BC NDP eliminated that office. When I asked them why, they told us it's because the mayors didn't like having that extra oversight. That's like shooting the farm dog because the fox doesn't like him guarding the chicken coop.
Yeah.
Like, it is a step backwards for accountability and empowers municipalities to have these kinds of boondoggles.
When is that wastewater plant supposed to be done?
Yeah, once again, it'll be in the mid-2030s, but it is a project where we have seen that goalpost, that completion date, moved back time and time and time and time again. And every time it's pushed back, families are hit with even bigger bills because those delays cost money.
It's absolutely, it's insanity. I don't know what to like. Now, what which level of government is currently? I'll say I can answer the question when I talk about making the worst financial decisions, because I have there's municipal. The municipal end of things, which is coming up where we have elections coming up here in October. I don't know how much impact a municipal politician can have on the provincial scene. Yeah. I don't know.
It's tough. So provinces, they're constitutionally recognized. The Constitution outlines various powers for the province and for the federal governments. It doesn't give any powers to municipalities. Municipalities are created by provincial legislation. And that means the province, at the end of the day, does have that final say. Through the municipalities, it can amend the Municipalities Act, it can write municipal charters. At the end of the day, the buck stops with the province, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and the Premier. But that doesn't mean we should let municipalities off the hook, because the province has delegated a huge amount of spending ability and control to those municipal governments. So the municipalities are important, but the buck does end with the province.
But the thing is that everyone should be paying attention to what's happening municipally here. Mm-hmm. They should get involved. They should vote. They should get at least a little learned on.
And oftentimes, decisions by your municipal government are the ones that have hugely outsized impacts on your life. Mm-hmm. Things like most people's relationship with government largely is their relationship with their municipal government. Yeah. When we think of government services, it's things like schools. Well, school boards are largely municipal. It's things like garbage collection. Okay, well, that's municipal. It's things like police. Municipal. Mm-hmm. So a lot of sort of taxpayers' interactions with government are at that municipal level. So you're right. It's so important that people get out there and vote across the province in October's municipal elections.
Well, yet stereotypically, the municipal elections usually have the least amount of voter turnout.
They do.
Which is I think the last figures I were looking at, they were between 25 and 27%, which is like really low.
Teeny tiny voter turnout.
And I don't know. Like I hope the population isn't nihilistic, or the people under 60 aren't nihilistic and saying, well, what's the point? Because everybody, if you're 18 and above, you can go, you can go vote. And you should give a shit, because there's a lot of things that are like, it's really easy. Is there anything that is there anything the provincial government is doing that is good right now? I don't know I know that they're announcing that they're opening up beds for taking people involuntary off the street. I don't know if that is that.
I think, and I haven't been following that file closely. It seems like there's a lot of announcements about future announcements, and we're working hard to do this at some point.
Is there anything positive though?
Yeah, you know what? I'll throw the province a bone. There have been two things that I've liked recently from this provincial government. The first one we touched on briefly is that relief for development cost charges. Bringing development cost charges down is good. That is one of the ways to make housing, new housing especially, more affordable for taxpayers. So earlier this summer, they announced they're working on getting those DCCs down. That's good news. The other thing that I have liked from this provincial government is a piece of legislation called the Eligibility to Hold Public Office Act. So for years in British Columbia, there's been this racket where city councillors, school board trustees will run and be elected provincially while also holding on to their city municipal jobs. What that means is they're getting two paychecks to represent the same constituent twice. They're double dipping. The Eligibility to Hold Public Office Act, which was passed by the BC NDP, bans that. Politicians are no longer allowed to double dip by taking two paychecks for representing the same constituent. I think that's a good thing. I don't think politicians should be double dipping like that.
Well,
two little ones, you know.
Two tiny town ones.
Listen, Stephen, I always say I'm in the business of bad government, and in British Columbia, business is booming.
No shortage of that. You know, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Carson. Like well, it is, you know, it is, and I enjoy having you on here and having the conversations. You know, is there any sunshine on? You know, is there anything that? You know, the one thing I'll say is that this summer in the Lower Mainland has been pretty nice.
It's beautiful. You know, it's been that perfect, not too hot, not too cold.
Temperate. Yeah. Very, very nice the way I remembered it. And, you know, and I went, okay, well, maybe we're getting something back to normal here or some semblance of normal. But I can tell you this, that things have dramatically changed. I used to look on, because I travel on Highway 99, and this is anecdotal observation. I'm very cognizant of license plates. And I always gear the economy. If the economy's good, if things are going well, I see a lot of Washington State license plates.
Yeah, folks coming north of the border to see it.
And I haven't seen any for quite a while, but I've noticed anecdotally a little bit of an uptake. And that didn't coincide with the World Cup either. It was just because Seattle had games too. And, but I haven't noticed that, because I pay attention. I haven't, and I also live real close to the border, and I always pay attention to border weights and that kind of thing. I don't think there's a lot of cross-border action happening right now. I think that I do think that a lot of businesses are really in tough. I don't think the World Cup was this boom for just like downtown stuff. That's cool. That's great. You know,
everyone loves a party. But at what cost?
Yeah. What did it cost? And there's one of the things about this too is that there's no legacy. Like there's nothing left. And what you came in and you did, like, I still am perplexed that they were able to replace the turf with real turf. Like I actually had to watch a YouTube video on that.
Yeah, it was impressive. They built this whole subfloor, and it was a whole production.
Holy shit. Like, but how much did that cost?
Well, and every dollar that is spent building that subfloor, growing this grass, tearing it out at the end, that's money that's not going towards nurses. It's money that's not going towards that gentleman we talked about earlier who you saw on the side of the road.
Yeah.
It's money that's not going towards keeping those 50 teaching assistants in Surrey.
Yeah.
Every dollar that's wasted on crap like that is money that's not staying in your pocket or going towards real priorities.
Well, we've touched on a lot of things here in wrapping it up, Carson. I'll say again, thank you. You know, you're a rock and roller.
Oh,
You're you know, and give the Canadian Taxpayers Federation a little bit of a plug here.
Yeah, absolutely. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation, if you like the work we do, head over to taxpayer.com and sign some of the petitions on our website. Our mission is lower taxes, less wasteful spending, and more accountable government.
Well, you guys at least keep them on their toes, right?
We do our best.
Yeah, and inquiring and asking the questions, because at the end of the day, half the time we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's on us too. But at the same token, we need organizations like the Canadian Taxpayers Federation as our watchdog and making us. And I hope we're doing a little bit of a service here by having you on here, because you are in the holding government accountable. You are it's admirable, the
Very
job that you're doing.
fantastic.
So thank you very much, Carson.
Thank you.
Okay, be well. You may be asking yourself, what's any of this got to do with me? Absolutely nothing. Until next time.